Hello, I'm Julieanne Steinbacher, the founding partner of Steinbacher, Goodall, and Yurchak, an elder and special needs law firm with offices in Williamsport and State College, Pennsylvania. Prior to being an attorney, I was a social worker in a nursing home, and I saw firsthand the devastating effects that can happen to families who don't plan ahead. As an attorney, I help my clients answer 3 questions. The first question is, what happens if you die? What do we need to do today to make sure that your assets get to who you want to in the simplest, most cost-effective manner possible? The second question is, what happens if you don't die but get sick? How do we make sure that we protect your assets, protect that family business? And the third question, which is a question that I don't think many professionals, including other elder law attorneys and myself, have done a good enough job addressing. And that question is, what happens if you get Alzheimer's or a related dementia? What do we need to do today to get ready for that? Through this series of videos, we're going to look into that question in association with the Alzheimer's Association. So let's begin. Here with me today is Jeff Dauber, the Education and Outreach Coordinator for the Greater Pennsylvania chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. Jeff, it's great to see you.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks for having us. We appreciate the chance to partner with you on this video series.
Great. So the first session that we're going to talk about is the impact of the diagnosis and the importance of getting an accurate diagnosis early. But before we get into all of that, you mind just talking to us a little bit about what is Alzheimer's?
Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of people do come up and say, what's the difference between, what is Alzheimer's disease? What is dementia? Well, Alzheimer's disease is an irreversible brain disease. It's the most common form of dementia. About 70% of all dementia will be Alzheimer's disease. It's the 6th leading cause of death, and there is no cure. That's why it's so important. That's why there is a large impact. A lot of people also, when I'm out doing talks, they're always, think, they lost their glasses or they lost this, and they think they might have Alzheimer's disease. And a lot of times, or most times, it's probably just normal aging. We're trying to figure out what's the difference between normal versus what is a cognitive problem. One lady, she had said to me, it's not if you can't find your glasses or lose them, it's if you don't know what they are. If your critical thinking skills, you start having problems with those, then we're looking at what might be symptoms of Alzheimer's disease or dementia, and why then we have to go out and try to get a diagnosis there. Dementia is an overall set of symptoms, really. When people say, what's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's disease? Dementia is a symptom. So if you are having cognitive issues, these are symptoms of that. And then we need to go and get a diagnosis, and an accurate diagnosis, to see, is it Alzheimer's disease? Is it an overall health problem? Is it another kind of issue with the brain? So I think that's why it's important that we're trying to get the awareness out so we can get someone to have an accurate diagnosis.
It's so helpful, I think. And one of the things I want everybody who's watching this video to know is there's some great tools on the Alzheimer's Association website, alz.org, alz.org. I was just looking at it the other day that shows the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
And I think, I point that out because it is scary to people to think, is this happening to me? We want to talk a little bit about the impact, how much of it happens across the country. 5.7 million people, it's just amazing.
Yeah, that's a lot.
16 million unpaid caregivers, and I certainly see that in my practice. I see children and spouses, trying to understand what needs to be done and trying to make sure that they give the best care they can without really knowing how. And I think that's why it's so important, even if people are scared, to get a good diagnosis.
Right. Yeah, and those 16 million unpaid caregivers are the unseen, that people don't see. They see, folks that work in facilities or healthcare professionals. But the unpaid caregivers, that's you and I. That's family, that's friends caring for these folks, while we're out there. And then the other group of folks that we forget about, which causes an impact, are the baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer, what's considered trailing edge at 56, but there are plenty of boomers are over 65 and 70, which is the main age risk for this disease. So with 78 million of us, coming down the road, there's a likelihood this disease could be at 13, 14 million people with it by 2045, 2050. And so the impact just keeps growing.
I think sometimes people are concerned about getting that early detection diagnosis because of the stigma that goes along with it. I think about it, 20 years ago, people didn't used to admit that they had cancer because there was a stigma. But it's so important to get that diagnosis because only then can we plan. Only then can we decide what needs to move forward. We are seeing some changes in this country. We're seeing a great campaign by the Alzheimer's Association to encourage people to get that early detection because of everything that can be done. We're also seeing some celebrities kind of coming out, you know, and that's really helpful. But I urge people not to shy away from it. You know, that little memory problem that you have may not be Alzheimer's or related dementia, but we need to find out for sure.
So we need the early detection and diagnosis because, you know, we can help them better. We can help the meds work a little bit better in the early stages. We have the ability to set up care planning for the family so they can know what needs. Do they need elder law? Do they need, what kind of assistance do they need? What is their support system, you know, around them as they start off into the disease?
From my perspective as an attorney, the earlier the people come to me as an elder law attorney, the more impactful I can be and the more they can be part of that care planning and make decisions. And that's important, you know, sometimes from a financial aspect because maybe we can get more benefits. Maybe also it's important from a perspective of that person who has that diagnosis can be much more a part of that. And that's not about that person having control. It's also about relieving the burden for people who are going to have to make decisions later on. You know, I know at my office we spend a lot of time talking to people about end-of-life decisions and what choices they would have. And, you know, for me, being able to have that person come to terms with what this journey is going to be like and what decisions can be made sooner versus later is so important.
Yeah, they still have the ability to make decisions, you know, for themselves, you know, as they move forward. And that does take some burden off of the family. If they know what the plan is further down the road when, say, you know, Dad, it's unsafe to drive now, you know, so we've made a contract that it says when we get to this point, we have an easier decision in trying to help that. So taking the burden off, letting that person be involved in their care is a very important thing. And that's, we're 100% behind that at the Alzheimer's Association. That's what we're striving for.
Having worked with many families throughout the year, it ends up being a real gift that the family can work together and communicate about what needs to be done. You know, kind of a basic thing is, you know, setting up a power of attorney and who's going to be that decision maker. But more so, you know, as you're saying, it's also communicating what decisions need to be made and being part of those decisions of when am I going to give up my driver's license? What facility would I want to go to if I have to? And there's differences. And so, you know, hitting this head on, getting a good diagnosis, understanding the impact that it's going to have on yourself and your family is really, really important. So in this series, what we've tried to talk about is just the impact of the diagnosis itself, the importance of getting a diagnosis and understanding, getting an accurate diagnosis. But we also want to talk about some of the resources that are out there. One way, we have a website, www.paeldercouncil.com. That is my law firm website, which we have attached a whole bunch of information, particularly about Alzheimer's. There's some podcasts on there. There's a guide to care. Anything that can be downloaded for you to be able to gather information as you want it. The other thing that we have is the planningandprotecting.com site, and that's a site of attorneys across the nation providing information about planning and protecting for the second half of life with a special section called the Alzheimer's Project where information is available to you. But Jeff, I also know the Alzheimer's Association has some great resources.
Yeah, well, we're here at the Alzheimer's Association. We're here to listen. One of our main ways to contact us is through our 24/7 helpline. So it's 1-800-272-3900. Or we have a lot of information on our website, which is alz.org.
We hope you've enjoyed this video session. We're here to help you get the information you need when confronting a disease such as Alzheimer's.